After losing 3 of 4 to Kansas City, they've kind of righted the ship here against the Pirates and then against Kansas City, taking the first 2 so far. Looking for the sweep tonight. Up 4.5 games now on Minnesota and 5.5 on Kansas City. So a win tonight could really put a hurting on the Royals' chances. And I think who's on the mound tonight?
Let me take a gander here.
We're well prepared here, folks.
Yeah, we are.
Ben Lively's on the.
There we go. Lively. Yep.
I know he had a rough outing his last time, so hopefully he gets a better outing. The starters have been awesome, like the last couple games. Tanner Bybee last night, Gavin Williams before him, Matthew Boyd, Alex Cobb had a perfect game going into the 7th, and then Matthew Boyd before him. So those 2 were so far working out pretty well and giving a boost to that rotation.
Yeah, both of them have been about better than what could be expected for what you got them for. Matthew Boyd coming off of Tommy John surgery, he's looked great in his starts. Cobb had the issue with the fingernail, but that's healed, and he looked great the other night, and he's looked great in all of his outings really for Cleveland since coming over from San Francisco. He was coming off injury also, so you didn't know what you were going to get from either of them really because of their injuries from earlier this year, or recovering rather, in the case of Matthew Boyd, but both have stepped in and kind of given a little bit of that veteran leadership to the rotation that you're missing when Bieber went down. I know Bieber's been around. It's not that he's, off doing his own thing or anything, but, you get that with Cookie, but it was clear all season long that if they want to be a playoff team, Cookie Carrasco wasn't going to be a starter that can be counted upon, even as a 5th starter. So it looks like now Gavin Williams is starting to get back into a groove here after missing most of the first part of the season with his injury. Tanner Bybee's looking like a future ace, as we've seen so far in his short major league career last year and this year. The bullpen's been great all year, so that continues as, Class A, it feels like he just got here in a way, and he's already the franchise leader in saves already, so that's crazy to think about. But when you save, what is it now, 28 consecutive opportunities that he's been successful on, that's crazy. You think about, Jose Mesa and Mike Jackson, and then more recently Bob Wickman, and some of those guys that were great closers for the Cleveland baseball, but they always seem to have their trip ups. And
how could you forget Joe Borowski?
Yeah, Joe Blow. Yeah. The list goes on, but those guys, while they had their moments of greatness with Cleveland, they weren't slam the door closers. And I've seen the stats or whatever that puts him pretty much in line with where Mariano Rivera was at this stage in his career after so many save opportunities and games pitched. And, if he can stay healthy, and that's a lot to ask when he pumps the ball in there at 100, 103 miles per hour, pretty much every pitch he throws outside of his slider, which sits low 90s. So, if he can stay healthy, and we'll discuss probably this offseason if he'll be in Cleveland much longer. Because if you sell him this offseason, it's not going to be much higher of a price that you can ask. And with the volatility of relievers, sometimes you got to part with them before you're ready to, if you want to get anything in return. But yeah, it's great to see him rebound after a rough go of it last week with Kansas City. They were able to take that afternoon game, the game 4 of that series, and parlay that into a good weekend against the struggling Pirates. And Kansas City went down to Houston and took their lumps against the Astros, which I know it's hard to say go Astros or be happy that the Astros are winning, but when it benefits you directly, you kind of take that for what it's worth. And it kind of takes me back to, and I mentioned this last week on the show, but I was listening to the game, and Tom Hamilton, when discussing, losing 3 or 4 to Kansas City, said, you could be a week from now, if Kansas City goes down and struggles in Houston and the Guardians take care of business in Pittsburgh, it can be a completely different story than how we were feeling a week ago at this time. And, he hit the nail on the head because, like you said, win tonight for the Guardians, and Kansas City is really going to be behind the 8 ball in terms of the Central Division standings and playoff race.
Yeah, and you talk about Clase. I mean, you got to think he and Terry Skubal are the 2 leading candidates for the Cy Young Award. So, yeah, and I'm being a homer, being biased, but I got to give it a Clase. The season he's had is freaking amazing. I mean, there's not even a doubt now when he goes out there, he's going to close it out. It's like automatic pretty much. And you can't ask for more than that out of your closer for sure.
Yeah. And the great thing about that is, it's a starter for Detroit and a reliever for Cleveland that you just mentioned as, front runners for the Cy Young. It's not, a pitcher for the Yankees or Boston or, the Astros or Texas or some of these kind of powerhouse that we tend to think of when thinking of these type of awards. But yeah, when you're having the seasons like they are, it's hard to, not let your bias towards the East or the West divisions get in the way of that, because if either of those were in New York or whatever, there'd be no question about it. But, yeah, it's great that the Guardians have kind of rebound. It was kind of their first bout of adversity in a way, not counting injuries, obviously, but through the first half of the season, they pretty much had built that lead, and it was like, oh, we have this lead, no one's going to catch us. But then Kansas City got hot, and Minnesota's hung in the shadows, so to speak. And it was great to see them rebound from that adversity of last week, where if they struggled with Pittsburgh and then went to Kansas City, it could be Cleveland that's 5-6 games back of the Royals. And with a young manager and a young team, it's great to see Vogt kind of bring the team back together. And they're getting, we've talked about John Kinsey Noel quite a bit here the past couple weeks, but Kyle Manzardo, your guy, Big Christmas. But Kyle Manzardo, since coming up when rosters expanded, and they don't expand like they did 4 or 5 years ago, but Alex Cobb returning and Manzardo coming up to boost the offense, and he's done just that. 2 home runs in his first game back on Sunday, and three hits last night.
Yeah, he's 5 for 10 since coming back.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the downside of it is him taking some of those DH at bats are going to kind of cut into John Kinsey Noel's at bats. But if you can platoon them righty lefty, that's a potent DH combination.
Definitely. Yeah, so we'll see if they can complete the sweep tonight and push the Royals 6.5 back and pretty much out of the division race, barring a miracle.